Welcome back to Solo Adventures. My name is Livi, and I'm here yet again with another solo game review. Now, this game, like every other game that I've reviewed so far on this channel, is an entrant in the BGG Solitaire PMP contest for 2020. The game we're looking at today is Go Alone, a dark fantasy card-based dungeon crawl. As usual, if you're not interested in actually watching me play the game and you just want to go to my final thoughts, then please feel free to skip to the end. Otherwise, let's venture forth. On the edge of a village beset by monsters and other dark things, there lies a cave whose mouth is so black it swallows up the light of all but the strongest fires. No one has gone in for generations. The closer to it you draw, the feebler you feel for the task ahead. And in a clearing not far from that cursed place, you find an old man who presents you with 4 powerful relics. As your hand reaches for the one that seems most fitting for the journey you're about to take, the old man speaks in a voice that seems to come from the stones themselves. It's dangerous, he says. Do not go alone. And so begins Go Alone, a dark fantasy card game. So just like in the flavor text, we have 4 relics that we can choose from before we begin playing. So we can have the Sign of the Crow, the Shroud of the Astrologer, the Sword of the Chosen, or the Skull of the Seer. I will pick the Shroud of the Astrologer, which will let me have 1 additional item. Normally you can carry 2, but now I can carry 3. We make sure that the item deck is separated out and shuffled. And then we find out which of the monsters we'll be facing. There's 2 boss monsters. I will go against the Fated Wyvern. So first we shuffle up the dungeon deck, and then we put the boss at the bottom. Now we get to choose our attribute. So there are 4 main attribute cards. So we shuffle them up. And then we just draw 2 cards, and we can choose from these 2. So fleet-footed, I can avoid harm once when attacking any foe if the hero's roll is odd-numbered, or furious, when the hero has 1 heart, attack rolls against any foe increase by 2. I think it's kind of fun to be a berserker, so I'll go with that one. So that's really about it. I'm just going to keep these cards close to me. So in this game, there is a very simple dice combat mechanism. So with this, the white die will be us and the black die will be our enemies. So here we have the dungeon deck. We draw the one off the top. Living skeleton. Jaws clicking, it shambled forward. The things growing on it, animating it, were eager and hungry. So we can see that the living skeleton has an attack of 2, but only 1 life. So it's very easy. We have an attack of 3 and 3 life. So we add 3 to our roll, and we add 2 to the living skeleton's roll. So I got a 7, and he got a 7. So that's a tie. If you tie, you get to go again, but then we lose every tie after that. And I win. He only has 1 health. So he is defeated. And when I defeat an enemy, I can draw an item card. I have Rings of the Dead. This is an item that will allow me to roll the foe die again if the first roll is high. Discard after injury. So I guess I'm wearing the Rings of the Dead, but if my hand gets injured, they will fall off. Let us venture forth. A shape in the dark. I can hear something following me, breathing, and yet my torch can find nothing, and I still feel it might. So 2 health and 1 attack. And I beat it. No problem. So I get to draw another item. Jar of Whispers. Draw any item from the discard pile. That's kind of cool. A Stone Wolf. A howl at first, and the clicking of those endless stones, and then the beast appeared, its mouth streaming. So he has an attack of 4. He's pretty tough. Has a health of only 1, though. Gets 7, so he does 1 damage to me. We just turn the card sideways to show 2 hearts. So he's higher again, so I lose another health. I'm down to 1 heart. It says, when the hero has 1 heart, attack rolls against any foe increase by 2. So that's cool. Oh, Rings of the Dead. Re-roll the first foe die again if the first roll is high. So I guess I'm already injured, so I can't use this. I should have remembered that. And Stone Wolf rolls a 4 and has an attack of 4. And I have a 1 and attack of 3, so I died. That was a rather short game. Yeah, that was it. Let's pretend that the Stone Wolf did not kill me, however. I'm just for the sake of going forward. I'm just going to say that I can give myself all my health again, and the wolf died here. Just so that we can learn a bit just so we can learn a bit more how to play this game, because losing this early I think is just not fun. Great Vulture, so attack of 4, health of 1. Again. There's 1 damage. And I survived that time. Vulture is dead. You heal after every combat. Blessing of the Fallen. All attack rolls are +2, so this is very good. The Iron Salamander. So that's a 6 against 9, and I win. Face made of twigs. Attack roll +2. So I can use this only 1 time. A face made of twigs. Bent and twisted, and yet the face was recognizably mine. I lifted it with a shudder. Creepy. So this is a trap. This trap is has a difficulty of 3. So I have to roll my die. Add any modifiers. I don't have any that work for traps, but I rolled 6, so I do not lose 1 heart. The stone below my feet shifted and split. The heat alone nearly blinded me, and I staggered forward. So thankfully we're okay. We don't get any rewards for beating traps, though. Hulking Abomination. That's a 7. 7 versus a 5, I take 1 damage. I am going to use my face made of twigs. So Hulking Abomination rolls 7, I roll 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So just barely, I do 1 damage. I roll a 5, he rolls a 3, and I win. Blessing of the Seeker. All trap rolls are +2. That's extremely good. I am, however, only allowed to have 1 special item. So you can see the special items are the ones with the golden border. I can't have 2 of them, so I'm still going to keep Blessing of the Fallen instead. So this card has a trap of 2. And if I fail, I have to discard one of my common items. 4, we're okay. Ooh, another trap. 3, so we're also okay. And another trap. 5, so we're okay, which is good because otherwise we would have to discard our attribute card. Another trap. 5, we're fine. Another trap. I promise I shuffled this. I rolled only a 1, however, so I lose 1 heart, and this is not replenished before my next fight. Cavern fly. That is a gross looking monster. Let's see what we can do. 6 and 7, we're fine. Cleansing of Sage. Restore 1 heart upon death, so I get to die for free. That's good. Ooh, if I fail this one, I have to shuffle the deck, which would mean that the monster at the bottom might end up somewhere in the middle, and that might make my game quite a bit shorter. So let's see what we do. I rolled a 4. I have to roll higher than the trap, and so I fail. I have to shuffle the deck. Oh, this is the item. Oops, this is the item deck. So I have to shuffle the deck. Okay. True believer, and mumbling blind, and yet its eyes were lit with a terrible fire, but it sought me out in the darkness. Oh, that's amazingly creepy. I love this. Tie. That's a 5. And I have a 6, so I win. An attack roll of +3. So I'm going to keep the Jar of Whispers because that can help me get really any card back. Monster. 7 versus 7, so it's a tie. Six versus 6, so that's a tie, and the second tie we automatically lose. And we win. And we win. Handful of Embers. You can shuffle discarded items back into the deck. I don't think that's really going to help us necessarily. Madness Imp. And I win. Oops. Should have drawn an item. Here we go. Heart carved of wood. Restore 1 heart upon death. So now I can die twice, maybe? There. Now we can die twice. I can get rid of my Jar of Whispers. The trap is 3. I would have had to shuffle in my last 2 foes, but I beat the trap, so it's fine. Another trap, and I'm fine. Oh, it's not a trap, it's a monster. So I did roll a 2. What did the monster roll? 3. So that's a 5 versus 7. And I win. Song of Moths. All attack rolls are +1. Well, I already have all attack rolls are +2. No. We win this. Beat that trap. Cursed Knight. I can see the Faded Wyvern is next. So let's fight. 8 versus 5. And we win. Anything here? Gift of Alms, restore 2 hearts upon death. So I'm going to get rid of Cleansing of Sage and get Gift of Alms. So I think this is the final showdown. Faded Wyvern. And at the end of the great cavern, a terrible wyvern unfurled, one eye shining in the torchlight, and the other a yawning socket, and roared with frightening, unmatched fury. So let's fight. So we both tied. This is a 5, and I have a 5 as well. Or this is an 8, and I have 8. So let's try again. And that is a 7, and so we fail because we lost the second tie. And another tie, so we lose again. And we do 1 damage. And another tie. But I think that I'm allowed to reroll this because some time passed. And I do damage. This does 1 damage to me, so I die. But I have the Gift of Alms. So now I have 2 health again. And I win. I killed the wyvern. So that was Go Alone. I lost the first time, but I managed to get to the end after cheating just a little bit. So what did I think about this game? Let's talk about it. So that was Go Alone. What are my thoughts on it? As usual, let's break it down. So first let's talk about the build. So this game is nothing more than just a pack of cards and a couple of dice. The cards are of course easy to assemble. The only thing that I had a little bit of trouble with was the backs. Because for some reason they didn't seem to want to align quite properly. A problem that I was having was aligning the backs to the fronts. I was printing duplex and they were seeming a little bit wonky. A little bit wonkier than usual. I needed to color in the edges of the cards with black Sharpie marker in order to hide the white margins. Otherwise, some of these would have been extremely out of balance. I think this one in particular, you can see the really wide border on it. Now, I'm not sure if it's my printer's fault or not. It could have been easier to print, because the way the files are laid out, there's only the card backs at the end. So you have to first print all the fronts and then print all the backs. If you have a duplex printer, it's a little bit annoying because we could have just done this all in just one go, but I guess it's okay. So what did I like about this game? First off, this game is gorgeous. I think it really goes without saying. You just look at this thing and it is just amazingly striking. It is a gorgeous game. I don't really know how the artist managed to do this, but the gold in the highlights actually somehow looks like it's actually metallic, even though it isn't metallic. Not really. This game would be just jaw-dropping if it had real gold foil on it. But even without it, it's just stupendous. I love the creature design. I love these freaky monsters. I love this dark vibe. Most of all, I like how it really doesn't feel like anything I've seen before. These are not typical monsters that I've seen in like a D&D manual, and I wouldn't even call them Lovecraftian. They're just odd and alien in a sort of way that I have never seen monsters in a game like this before. So yes, bravo. I also really love the flavor text. Every card has a little description for flavor at the bottom of it. So for example, on Divination of Echoes, this is an item that gives you +1 on all of your trap rolls. It says, "The bell rang so loudly and so sweetly, and with such vibrancy, that I knew no harm would befall me." The aesthetic kind of reminds me of like Darkest Dungeon and Dark Souls maybe. Another thing I really love is that the game places us straight within the story, with the whole background at the beginning, how you meet an old man outside of the cave and he has 4 relics that you can choose from. I love the sense of immersion that comes with that whole background story, that whole choice. It's great. So in terms of feel, vibe, theme, artwork, this game is easily the most gorgeous that I've seen so far in the contest. It's fantastic, and the artist really should be proud of themselves. So what didn't I like about this game? Well, I think the gameplay needs some work. I just didn't really feel like I was making any kind of meaningful decisions in this game. I feel like I was totally at the mercy of the dice, and not in a way that was really fun. Now, I have no problem with a lot of randomness in games. For example, Terror at the Lake is another game that involves a lot of randomness, but in that game it felt different and it felt okay, because you could make a few more choices about what you're going to do. You did feel a bit more in control. Randomness works in a game like Terror on the Lake because there are a few choices that you can make. You do feel a little bit more like you're in control, whether you are or whether you're not. You can continue playing the game to the end. It doesn't just end in the middle with a bad die roll. And best of all, it's short. So you can do it over and over, and a couple of bad die rolls, it's really no problem. This game, not so much. What I didn't like is that it seemed the only input you really have into this game is how you build your character with your attribute and your relic, and then the only other meaningful choices that you make are what items to use and when. The combat is just far too random. It's just a few bad dice rolls in a row and you just lose. Or you could just get extremely lucky all the way through, and there's not a lot of strategy. So, should you play this game? Technically yes, because I think that every game in the contest really deserves to be played, and I think that my opinion is not the best or only opinion there is out there. Maybe you would have a lot more fun with this game. But for me personally, I do not see myself coming back to play this game again. It's just too random, too frustrating, it's way too swingy. Gorgeous, amazing, beautiful art style, but the gameplay is got some problems. I would love to see what this game could be, though, if it had a little bit more going into its development. If you like what I do here, please subscribe. If you want to support the channel, then I have a Patreon. You could become a patron. You can check out the details in the description. There is also the group for solo adventurers on Facebook. So thank you so much for watching. Until next time.